Paltrocast now with Darren Paltrowitz. Get ready to listen to your favorite artists.
Paltrocast.
Jeff, it is an honor and a pleasure, my honor and my pleasure. How's your day going aside from answering the same questions over and over and over again from
No,
media?
they said you're doing like an erotic, spicy interview, so I'm ready for you, Darren. Again.
Well, I mean, the Cardi B background makes it the erotic and spicy part of this whole thing. But is it a good day for you so far, aside from, hey, so my character came from this, and I didn't know it was season 5, that kind of a thing?
Yes. It's great. Apart from that, like, I might as well just have like a soundboard, like you see a children's book, you just hit a couple different catchphrases.
Yeah, so I'm going to do what I can to ask as many of those same questions over and over and over to bother you. Well, is it still a coffee o'clock by you?
Oh, you already know it. Well, tea. I'm sipping the tea.
And you've already gotten 4 workouts in today, or 2?
1 workout. I think you've been spying on me.
Well, I mean, Rochester people are the greatest, and you're a Rochester person, but we're going to come back to that. Let's talk about Double Cross season 5. Did you know going in, hey, this is the final season?
No, I didn't. There was speculation, but I would say shooting halfway through, they're like, I went to go visit AMC, and they're like, yeah, so this is the final season. I'm like, wait, what? So I think a sense of urgency got cultivated once I found that out, and then you start to like savor the little moments. Like, man, I'm really not going to see these people again unless it's on a different project. So it was definitely weird news.
When I was a kid back in the Stone Age, a final episode of a series was the final episode. Nowadays, we know there's reboots, there's TV movies, there's spin-offs, there's universe kind of stuff. So I don't think it's the last time we're ever going to see you with all this. But, going back, season 1, were you thinking ahead going, hey, this is going to go 5 seasons or anything like that?
No, not at all. No, not at all. And it's funny, it's gone from 2019, which seems like yesterday, that I was literally auditioning in Vegas, and I was doing a bunch of stuff that was just not good for actors that I would never do. Like, namely, I had the script on an iPad, and I'm doing my audition, and I'm just reading off the script, and I had bombed about 5 auditions, and I was like, I don't even care about this one. I was like, yeah, I'm just reading off the book. I was like, look at me. I was like, I wish they would say something. And at that time I didn't have an agent or anything like that. And I read it, and then they called back like, yeah, we want to hire you. And I'm like, wait, but I've been bombing interviews, and I like held the book. That's like rule number 1: do not hold the book. So it's different to look back on this 5-year journey. But no, I didn't think that would be 5 seasons, and there's no way.
I thought rule 1 was act like you don't care.
A little bit.
And the reason I say is because just about every job I've ever gotten, I had been warmed up to the interviewing process, and I just went, I don't care. I'm just going to be honest now. I'm not going to do any of the pretentious things. And it sounds like in your case, that's what happened with you. There's the famous story about Ed O'Neill when he got married with children, that he'd come in his sweaty racquetball clothes, and he did the, and that's why they wanted him, because he didn't care.
Yeah. That's like literally letting go and letting God, and stop being so rigid on everything. Just like, whatever. If I get it, I get it.
Now, you were in Vegas for the auditions. Did you live out there, or that's just where the auditions were?
No, I had just bought a Lamborghini, and I wanted to test it. So I drove from California to Vegas like a weirdo. Everybody tries to hold, this precious little car and no miles. I was like, I'm taking this thing, 6 hours to Vegas because I got stuck in traffic. But yeah, I was not doing acting stuff in Vegas. I was at a fitness expo, and acting. There was a buffet that I was eyeing. Because it's go to the fitness expo, look good, and then it's like, go eat your face off. So acting was not. I was actually going there after bombing all the auditions just to clear my head.
Was that the Venetian buffet?
It was.
That's the buffet.
I think you got a spy camera on me, dude.
No. Here's where I'm going. The wife and I got married in Vegas. I used to spend a lot of time in Vegas. And when people talk about the buffet and they're under the age of 60, if for some reason it's that one Venetian buffet, I don't know if anyone does a buffet anymore. It's the crab legs and all that, the Venetian.
that was the best buffet I've ever been to. So I mean, it's difficult to go to like any other one now. Like I think I'm just comparing it to like, the cream of the crop here.
Right. So, hey, going back to the success with Double Cross and all that kind of stuff, how far ahead are you looking in your career? Because obviously, when you say, okay, so I was on this show as the lead for 5 seasons, opportunities come crawling and knocking, but at the same time, you want to be careful about your next step because you want the next thing to be as good, if not better.
Yep. You have to be careful with the roles you take. I've done a romantic comedy where there's no guns, there's no swearing, there's no anything. And I did 2, those were feature films, 2 feature films of a romantic comedy. And then I did a thriller, which
is
was
that
like,
Gangster's Daughter you're talking about?
No, Gangster's Daughter is like, I'm a thug in that one. I'm talking about it's Valentine's Day Crush is the rom-com. And then there's another one called Deadly Getaway where it's a thriller. And honestly, all those came with no audition just because they seemed double cross. So like, I'm like, oh, like I'm actually, because I have a like part of my success, I have a real issue with knowing how far I am. Like sometimes I just don't know because I don't compare it. And then if I don't get any reinforcement, because like I spend a lot of time like alone, I don't have like somebody over me, like a mentor, like, hey, you're doing great. So I'm just like, oh, gotta work more. And when I sit back, I'm just like, yeah, that was like 4 films that year, like off of Double Cross, no auditions, just, hey, can you come here in a week? And I like learn the lines in a week and I like fly out and do it. So yeah, it's definitely a catapult for me, Double Cross was.
I think you're the only cast or crew member to have been driving a Lamborghini before Double Cross.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I assume that is due to your prior success in the fitness industry and modeling and that kind of a thing. So are you also working on that grind of your career as well? Or is it just all acting and producing?
Oh yeah, it's everything. It was funny. You said something memorable last time. You're like, yo, dude, you got like 7 jobs. And I'm like, yeah, I do. That was last year and I thought it was so funny, but it is like, there's the supplement company. Then I end up writing a book. Because
last time I didn't know about the book and you told me that and I smartened up right there.
Yeah, like I wrote a book because I went to go get my it was either credit or taxes or something done by this like celebrity credit person, right? James Hunt. And I'm looking around his office. He has all these books and he's just like, and I'm like, damn, how many books have you written? He's like 6. And then he's like, have you written a book? And I was like, no. And he stopped what he was doing and looked at me like I had 6 heads. And I'm like, should I have written a book? And he's like, I'm not going to say anything. But the look he gave me was so like disgusted. Like, why haven't you written a book yet? I was like, I need to go write a book now. So I did. I wrote it in a week. Like I wrote it in between my 3-year-old napping and him sleeping, and I wrote Becoming the Beast Handbook. Just about like the beast mindset.
You're not the only author. This one came out this month about David Lee Roth. You ever encounter Van Halen or David Lee Roth at any point of your career?
Not yet.
Well, that ties in. I call that Rochester up front. And Rochester is one of these cities where all these famous people are from there, yet no one connects the dots. Like no one thinks of Kristen Wiig as being from Rochester.
Right.
And no one thinks of Lou Gramm from Foreigner as being there. And there's that world famous House of Guitars store. Did you ever go into House of Guitars?
I have been to House of Guitars. Oh, yeah.
The wrestler who passed a couple of years ago, Brody Lee or Luke Harper, he was another Rochester guy. Did you ever encounter him?
No, I haven't. But I ended up eating. It was me, Adam Weitzman, and a bunch of WWE people, and we ate dinner. And like seeing how big these people were. And the funny thing is, like you say, I had 7 jobs. I tried out for WWE, like in I forgot what year that was, maybe 2015, 2016. I tried out for WWE, and I grew a whole different respect. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not cut out for this, and I got a whole different respect for those people.
Yeah, in that case, not only do you have to be able to speak, you have to stay in shape, you have to be able to take a lot of pain and then deal with the travel grind. That's the part that people don't really realize. So you're smarter than them because you stay in the same place while staying shredded and being able to speak.
Right.
Yeah. So
I'm not taking those bumps. Those bumps were something different. I woke up, that pain, I play college football, I've done bodybuilding. That pain I woke up with after that tryout, I was like, oh no, this is insane. Well,
did they come to you because of the Arnold Classic?
No, they pretty much, it was an image thing, how I looked, but it was through fitness. It was through fitness.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what percentage of the people have no wrestling experience and they go, you just look good. We saw you at a fitness expo. Come here and do that. So I'm sure at the time you went, oh man, I failed. And now you go, thank God I'm not doing that.
There's no way. There's no way.
Okay, so what I've learned today is I think you now have 8 jobs, not 7.
Oh my God.
And Double Cross is ending, but don't close the door on that. We're going to see you plenty more. We just have to wait until the Hollywood Reporter or Variety embargo lifts. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think it should be lifted, and the strike just ended, and I've been auditioning, so I mean, you should see me very soon. I can't put out what I've been auditioning for, but it's been some pretty significant projects, so you should be seeing me you will be seeing me very soon.
And another book in your future, or are you one and done?
Oh, I started the second one. I started already. Becoming the Beast Body. It's about how to, that one's about the mind, and this next one is about the body.
Got it. Are you a big IF kind of person for the body stuff?
Yes and no. Like I have my times where I fast, but like I'm not like there's a section in our fasting. I'm telling you, you have a freaking camera somewhere planted on me. And you can't be looking at me naked, because how did you know that I had a fasting part in there?
Don't tell the wife. Okay, so there's a book coming. There's more roles coming. The fitness guy's happening. Do you now have 3 Lamborghinis or just 2?
Oh my God. I don't want to talk about Lamborghinis. Let's keep it, because then people are going to be looking for me. But I did look at one yesterday. I'm so guilty. Who looks at Lamborghinis in the winter time? You can't even freaking drive it. I'm sitting here like, hey, do you still have this? That's my obsession. I don't care like about clothes, literally not wearing any pants right now. I don't care about clothes and like, different thing. I like watches and vehicles. That's me. Watches and vehicles.
Jeff, you inspire and really looking forward to whatever is next, whether you're the writer, you're on camera, you're telling the people what to do, whatever it is, keep up all the greatness out there.
Darren, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for your time, dude.
Paltrocast.
Mark, how's your day going aside from answering the same questions over and over and over again?
It's been great. And you know what? There have not been a lot of the same questions. Everybody's got a little something different, and which is neat, because it's good to hear some feedback and see what people are curious about. It's really great.
Well, I'm going to get to the unique questions after I ask you about season 3 and say congrats on a season 3. A lot of my favorite shows never got to season 3. So when did you find out, hey, we're coming back?
Would have found out like last February, before we and then you're like, oh boy, this is exciting. And then which is great, because this is his last year of junior high. So we get to end our season with a kind of a junior high graduation and stuff like that. So then hopefully if there's a next year, then we'll be moving to a different school. So it's kind of bittersweet in a way that we kind of said goodbye to the school we use in the show. But yeah, no, it's been every year is a gift, and it's such a delight to come back. And for people like Malcolm and Benjamin, Malcolm who plays my father, Malcolm McDowell, and my grandfather rather, and Benjamin Evan Ainsworth, who plays young me, like that's their first experience, really. Not Malcolm's first experience, but one of his only ones coming back to something. Normally they do a film or a one-off. So it's neat to have a little family year to year.
Now, when a show is based on a book, sometimes it's to the T, and then other times they just use it as a starting point and then evolve it. In your case, it's evolved in a wonderful, organic way. How far ahead are you mentally in terms of going, this can go 8 seasons and I know where this is going to go?
It could go 6 seasons and I know where it's going to go, which would be the end of high school. There's 1 year after that, which would be kind of fun to do, because I went off on this kind of a madcap adventure kind of thing. So it'd be a thing. But really, I think if we get to 6 years, if we're lucky enough, which a lot of shows end at, it would really give it a nice arc and a good ending. Him leaving high school and becoming, a comedian would be kind of neat to do.
In the States, the magic number is episode 100, because that's when you can go to syndication. What's the magic number in Canada? Is there such a thing?
1. We're just so lucky to have, well, there's only so many channels here, so we don't worry too much about a syndication. But yeah, I think if any show gets up around those 6 seasons or whatever, it's pretty great. But we're just happy to be doing it, to be honest. The other show I'm on, it's a sketch comedy show called 22 Minutes. That's been on for 31 years. So it's the longest running show in Canada. So who knows?
So I actually want to ask you about that and another thing from season 1 of Son of a Critch. But in terms of the show that you just mentioned, the sketch comedy show, you kind of became known for your man on the street kind of stuff, the accosting people. Did any influence from that come from Howard Stern?
No. We didn't get Howard Stern. I know Howard Stern. My brother's a big fan of Howard Stern being in radio. But no, it was when the show first started 31 years ago, it was a different cast. And one thing they would do is they would kind of like just run up to the prime minister and start shouting questions and things like that. And then, so when I started, I kind of fell into that role where you had to kind of like hide in a parking lot waiting for a politician to come out. And then you'd pop up and do this interview while they're trying to get away from you. And then, but then over the years, then you get well known. You can't hide anymore. So nowadays I'll have a sit down interview with Justin Trudeau. I'll interview him a couple of times a year, but he'll be planned. I'll go see him. I'll sit down. It's not as fun. It's a lot easier because you don't have to hide as much. Right. Pop out, and you have less Mounties grabbing you, which was always the scary part. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that it's easier in that you now are on the docket, so you don't have to wear a disguise. Your blood pressure doesn't go, okay, now. But at the same time, now you have to be.
People know me here, right? So when I pop out, they'll be like, "Oh, it's that guy." In the States, we've done it, a bunch of times, and I remember George Bush popping out and. Your police officers didn't like that, and John Kerry has popped out. They didn't like that, and like lots of different politics over the years. So it's like a lot different because like if I pop out here in Canada, like it's that guy. As a pop out in the States, it's like he has a gun. So it's a different. It's a microphone. So I learned not to do that down there.
Yeah, that has always been a fascinating thing to me about which Canadian artists are huge in Canada and the rest of the world, but not the States. And then which Canadian artists are huge in Canada, but not Canada, but the States, but not Canada. You always have that ongoing kind of thing. But I'm complimenting your career regardless of how recognizable you are to political people. Now, in terms of the first episode of the show, you have 2 references to one of my favorite bands in there, Van Halen. Now, I'm wondering, was that you or which writer was that snuck in Van Halen?
That was me because they were very popular on the playground. I was a kid who grew up kind of liking older music because everybody in my house liked that. I was like kind of a Dean Martin, Sinatra, 1960s Beach Boys, things like that, like Pet Sounds and stuff. And then you get in, and I would have to keep. I had a Van Halen cassette tape and I had an AC/DC cassette tape on me in my book bag. So when people would ask me, "Who do you like?" I'd go, "These guys." It was almost like a security pass to get by the tough kids. But then I came to appreciate it later on in life. But yeah, no, Van Halen ruled our playground.
Okay, so here's a theory that I had, and I need you to spell whether or not it was true about that. Because you talk about Van Halen, but then it plays the Poison song.
Yes.
So did Van Halen turn down the licensing request?
No, I don't think what that was meant to be was kind of like a mixtape. Of what was on there, because you tape so many songs off the radio. And we did, I can't remember, Van Halen may have been too expensive, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then Poison. We asked Poison. And for some reason, Poison knew me. They were like, "Oh, that's that guy Critch. He's a comedian, right?" And they're like, "Yeah." I go, "Yeah, he could have our song." I was like, "What?" Paul Anka. We have a Diana in there, and he said, "Anything for a good Canadian kid."
Yeah.
And gave us the song. And then this year, on our season opener, we have Kokomo by the Beach Boys, which was a #1 song that year. So I try to get real songs in there because nothing puts you in a place and nothing brings you back a memory like hearing an actual song from the time.
Right. So what I'm hearing is you play the Canadian card when you need to, but that's not always.
Oh, well, man, I will lean into the Canadian card. I will bleed maple syrup if it gets me a cool tune. I can tell you that right now.
So you just mentioned the sketch comedy show, the longest running show. Obviously, this show, season 3, you're looking ahead to future seasons. You're also a very prolific philanthropist. You do a lot of charity work as well. But have I missed any of the active projects that are going on?
Currently, active like charity things?
Are we allowed to know that you're working on anything else? Because sometimes when you ask somebody, you look at the IMDb and it shows 6 forthcoming projects, but none of them are announced, so they can't talk about it. And other times people go, oh, I'm an open book. I'm going to tell you everything I'm working on. I have 6 underdeveloped screenplays.
Oh, yeah. No. I tell you what's coming up for me. I have working on 22 Minutes, which is a kind of like we make up the show each week, like Saturday Night Live. So that's pretty much all your time, plus doing post-production on season 3 of this show as well. And I also am about to write my 3rd book. I'm writing my 3rd book now with Penguin Random House. So outside of that, I have no time.
It's a lot, and I really admire that. So it doesn't sound like you're going to be like the Letterkenny people and go, you know what, we have to break America. We're going to spend all of our free time breaking America. Instead, you're happy with what you have, which is 2 shows on at the same time, a book deal, and the philanthropy.
Yeah, well, it's a kind of thing too, like where I think, the big American whale is always something people are trying to get here. But what I always want to tell personal stories and write about your own life or your experiences. And so if that translates in the States to be enough people dig it, that's great. But I've always, this is a weird way to end up on American television. A lot of people go down and they'll, audition to be the neighbor on a sitcom their whole life and hope. But in this way, it's kind of like we've taken this weird back door. But no, I'm just delighted that, some people are enjoying it down there, and we're hearing from lots of them. And it's, you never know how people will find it, but they do. A friend might suggest it, or they're watching, or they hear about it in something like this. And so just spreading the word and hoping people like it.
They like it in the Paltrowitz household. Keep up the great work. Looking forward to season 4. Fingers crossed. And just keep up all the great work, Mark.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate the time.
Paltrocast.
Tony, I'm going to say good afternoon. It's good morning here, but is it good afternoon to you?
Yeah, it's 5:30-ish p.m. here. So
okay, good evening, and thank you for taking the time.
Good evening, yeah.
How's your day going,
pleasure.
aside from answering the same questions from journalists over and over and over again?
Luckily, also answering some new and fresh questions every now and again. So it's always great that someone asks like this question. No one has asked this yet today, so it's been fun. We had a cold day, like minus 20-ish Celsius here, and clear skies, full moon right now. So it's been a great day so far.
Well,
and sauna later today.
Lucky you. Well, congratulations in advance on the sauna, and congratulations on the new record, Clear Cold Beyond. Now, when did you actually finish the record?
We delivered our parts at the end of August as planned, and our original idea was to actually release the album in October already, together with the tour that we had with Stradivarius. But then it came as a little bit of a shock that because of the vinyls, that their schedule is that the earliest release time is 5 months later than you deliver the parts, because of like all the vinyl plants are super busy. So that was a huge shock. But I was super happy, and we were very happy that we were able to release one of those digital singles before the tour. So we had at least something fresh to play on that European tour. So it's all good. And actually, it gave us a lot of more relaxed schedule with promotion and coming up with videos and everything. So it's actually this is something I would actually prefer also in the future. You have some rest time after you've been working hard on the album and everything, and then you can relax a little bit and then start with fresh thoughts and eyes and the whole thing, start doing the promotion instead of being completely burnt out.
Right.
When the album is out. So
I'm glad you got a Christmas, a little bit of a break before you go into the heavy duty work mode. So when you're playing upcoming concerts, how much of Clear Cold Beyond are you playing in the concert? Are you playing 1 or 2 songs, or you go, here's the whole album, you're going to listen to the whole album?
At the time of the release of the album, we will have 4 singles out then at that point. So at least those 4, but we have a plan for a 5th song. So it might be probably going to be 5 songs from Clear Cold Beyond, and then a lot of old Sonata Arctica material fitting to the set list of this one. So some ballads, of course. Everybody needs to hear Cellular for the 100,000th time, but still, it's fun to play, and the people seem to enjoy it. So we're trying to find the songs that are loved by the people, and they can sing along and make a great live experience for it, and promote the new stuff at the same time.
Well, you're at a fascinating point in your career where people aren't expecting a single, they're just expecting it to sound like your band. You have your own sound. Your songs can be as long as you want them to be. You don't have a record company going, please give us a 2-minute, 40-second song. They're just going, give us an album. It sounds like you. Great. When did you kind of realize that your band was its own industry, that you didn't have to give the singles?
Well, we still sort of are asked for singles, but luckily they are only alongside with the album, that we have the album, and we don't have to go in the studio and just record one single, just having something out. So it's and of course, business-wise, it's a smart idea to have a song that is fit to be a single, something that can probably get some air. So but very early on, I just didn't care much. I just kept doing whatever it was that I was doing anyways. So, and luckily there were a lot of these single fit songs there on every album, and so we were able to come up with a single. And it's been we were lucky in that sense always.
By single, I meant the chorus needs to be here. It needs to sound like this. You need to use an outside songwriter. And it doesn't seem like your band has had that pressure in the last 15 years to be commercial, to be anything but the Sonata Arctica we're fans of.
Yeah, well, I've done some adventuring when it comes to songwriting, written songs that are at least on the surface a little bit complex and not the single material per se, but that's the kind of music I grew up listening to when I was a kid, and that's the sort of thing that comes naturally for me, like the pop formula where we have an intro that is probably something along the sides of this chorus line later on in the song, and then you have like the verse and the pre-chorus and then the chorus thing, and then maybe some extra bit later on the song, and repeat. And that's fairly easy. And coming up with a 4-minute song, which is like the perfect length for a single, for radio and all that, at least it used to be. So it comes very quickly, and it's oftentimes it's more demanding to write a short song than a long song. At least that's what I've noticed, that the 4-minute line comes up very quickly if you want to have a chorus that you repeat once and twice, and then have maybe like a modulation bit at the end, the Eurovision style kind of thing.
Yeah, Eurovision, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, were you, and this is a compliment here, I think of you as a sophisticated musician making sophisticated music that's loud, but were you ever into dumb music? Well,
yeah, when I was a kid, and I had my first car, for example, I was listening to those kind of so I was like, hello, I'm the Barbie girl. That kind of so dumb stuff. Yeah, and well, that was just one first example that popped into my mind, but like Dr. Alban and all those, like it was mostly that, and then Queen and Midnight Oil and such, but which are smart, super smart, both of those. But still, there was also this. I had this pop music, current pop music with like really strong bass. Boom, boom. It had an appeal for me, and in some point I was like demoing, writing my own things also in that style. But I'm very, very fortunate that I grew out of that eventually.
Paltrocast.